You know, there's something I hear from so many people over 60, something that worries them more than almost anything else. And that's the fear of losing their memory. Maybe you've had one of those moments where you walk into a room and suddenly can't remember why you're there. Or you meet someone you know you've met before, but their name just slips away. It's frustrating, isn't it? And it can make you wonder, is this just part of getting older, or is there something I can do about it? Well, I've got good news for you. Just like keeping your body strong with movement and good food, your brain thrives when you give it the right care. And the best part? It's never too late to start. Today, we're going to talk about 5 simple, everyday habits that can help keep your memory sharp and your mind clear. No fancy gadgets or expensive treatments required. These are things you can start doing today, and I promise, they're easier than you might think. Now, the first habit is something you've probably heard before, but it's so important that we have to talk about it: staying physically active. You might be thinking, wait, isn't this about memory? What does moving my body have to do with my brain? Well, more than you'd expect. When you move, whether it's walking, dancing, gardening, or even just stretching, you're boosting blood flow to your brain. That means more oxygen, more nutrients, and a better environment for your brain cells to thrive. Studies have shown that regular exercise can even help grow new connections in the brain, which is like giving your memory a little extra backup power. And here's the best part: you don't have to run a marathon. A brisk 30-minute walk a few times a week can make a real difference. If you love swimming, great. If you prefer gentle yoga, perfect. The key is to find something you enjoy, so it doesn't feel like a chore. Because when it's fun, you'll stick with it. And that's what matters most: consistency. Now, let's talk about the second habit: feeding your brain the right foods. Just like a car runs better with high-quality fuel, your brain works best when you give it the nutrients it loves. And no, I'm not talking about some complicated diet, just simple, delicious foods that pack a big brain-boosting punch. First up, omega-3 fatty acids. These are like superfood for your brain, and you'll find them in fatty fish like salmon, walnuts, and flax seeds. Then there are antioxidants. Think colorful fruits and veggies like blueberries, spinach, and even dark chocolate. Yes, really. These help protect your brain from wear and tear over time. And don't forget about whole grains and healthy fats, like olive oil and avocados, which keep your energy steady and your brain humming along. The trick is to make small swaps. Instead of reaching for that bag of chips, maybe try a handful of nuts. Swap white bread for whole grain. Little changes add up, and your brain will thank you for it. Now, before we move on to the next habit, I want you to think about this. How often do you really challenge your brain? Because that's our third habit: keeping your mind engaged and curious. You see, your brain is a bit like a muscle. If you don't use it, it gets weaker. But when you give it new problems to solve, new skills to learn, it grows stronger. That could mean picking up a new hobby, painting, playing an instrument, even learning a few phrases in a new language. Or it could be as simple as doing a crossword puzzle, playing cards with friends, or reading a book that makes you think. The key is to step outside your comfort zone every now and then. It doesn't have to be hard, just something that makes your brain stretch a little. And here's a fun tip: socializing counts too. Having a good conversation, sharing stories, even debating a topic politely, of course. All of these keep your brain active and engaged. So don't underestimate the power of a good chat with friends or family. Now, we've covered 3 powerful habits so far: moving your body, feeding your brain, and keeping your mind active. But there are 2 more game changers I want to share with you, and they might surprise you. So let's keep going, because these next habits could make all the difference in keeping your memory sharp for years to come. You know, sometimes the things that help our brains the most aren't the ones we'd expect. Take sleep, for example. How many times have you brushed off a bad night's rest, thinking, "I'll just power through"? I've been there too. But here's the thing: sleep is our 4th habit, And it's not just about feeling rested. It's about giving your brain the time it needs to tidy up, sort through memories, and even lock in what you've learned that day. Think of your brain like a librarian at the end of a busy day. Without proper sleep, it's like tossing books onto the shelves haphazardly. Good luck finding what you need later. But with deep, restorative sleep, your brain files everything away neatly, making it easier to recall names, facts, and even those little "where did I put my keys?" moments. So if you've been skimping on sleep, try this. Set a calming bedtime routine. Maybe it's a cup of caffeine-free tea, a few pages of a book, or gentle stretches. And if naps are your thing, a 20-minute power nap can work wonders. Just don't let it turn into a 2-hour marathon that steals your night's sleep. Now, let's talk about the fifth habit, one that's often overlooked but just as vital: managing stress. I know stress might sound like one of those buzzwords everyone talks about, but here's why it matters for your memory. When you're stressed, whether it's worry, loneliness, or just too much on your plate, your body pumps out cortisol, a hormone that's like kryptonite for your brain's cells over time. Ever notice how much harder it is to remember things when you're anxious? That's cortisol at work. But here's the good news: you don't have to eliminate stress completely. That's impossible. Instead, focus on how you handle it. Simple practices like deep breathing, inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 6, can calm your mind in minutes. Or try mindfulness, just pausing to really notice the smell of your coffee, the sound of birds outside, the feel of sunlight on your skin. These small moments act like a reset button for your brain. And don't underestimate laughter. A good chuckle with a friend or even at a silly TV show can cut stress in half. Now I want to pause here because these two habits, sleep and stress management, are often the ones we neglect first when life gets busy. But here's the truth: they're the invisible foundation of everything else. You could eat all the brain-boosting foods and do all the crossword puzzles in the world, but without rest and calm, your brain won't have the space to use those tools effectively. So let's recap where we are. We've talked about moving your body, feeding your brain, keeping it active, prioritizing sleep, and taming stress. 5 habits that, when woven together, create a safety net for your memory. But I'll let you in on a secret: none of this works if it feels like a rigid checklist. The magic happens when you find your rhythm. Maybe today you take a walk and swap your afternoon cookie for a handful of almonds. Tomorrow, you might call an old friend for a chat or try a new recipe. It's all progress. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, one that ties everything together. Because there's something even more powerful than any single habit, and that's the mindset you bring to all of this. You see, the most important thing isn't just what you do, it's how you think about it. If you approach these habits with dread, like a chore you have to do to avoid memory loss, they'll feel heavy. But if you see them as gifts to yourself, small acts of kindness for the person who's carried you through decades of life, everything changes. That's why our final tip isn't about adding another task to your day. It's about cultivating joy. Sounds simple, right? But joy is like fertilizer for your brain. When you do things that light you up, whether it's listening to music from your youth, planting flowers, or telling stories to your grandkids, you're giving your brain a surge of positive energy. And guess what? Memories stick better when they're tied to emotion. Ever notice how vividly you recall happy moments from years ago? That's your brain's way of saying, this mattered. So here's my challenge to you: pair these brain-boosting habits with something that makes your heart happy. Walk with a friend instead of alone, and share old jokes along the way. Cook that salmon dish with herbs from your garden, savoring the colors and smells. Dance while you fold laundry, even if your knees protest a little. The more you weave pleasure into these habits, the more they'll become part of your life, not just a checklist. Now, let's take a step back and look at the big picture. We've covered 5 powerful ways to nurture your memory. Keep moving. Your brain loves the blood flow and energy from activity. Eat brain-friendly foods, omega-3s, antioxidants, and whole foods are your allies. Challenge your mind, stay curious and engaged with puzzles, hobbies, and conversation. Prioritize sleep, let your brain file memories properly. Manage stress, breathe, laugh, and create moments of calm. And over all of it? Do it with joy. Because a happy brain is a resilient brain. I know change can feel overwhelming, especially if you've been stuck in routines for years. But you don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Start with one tiny step. Maybe today, you'll take a walk after dinner and notice 3 beautiful things along the way. Or tomorrow, you'll swap your morning toast for a bowl of oatmeal topped with walnuts and berries. Small steps add up. And remember, you're not alone in this. Thousands of people just like you are making these shifts, stumbling sometimes, but keeping going. So if you forget to do your crossword one day or cave and eat that slice of cake, that's okay. This isn't about perfection, it's about showing up for yourself, day after day, in ways that feel good and right for you. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's one small habit you'll try this week? Or maybe you've already found something that keeps your memory sharp. Share it in the comments so others can learn from you too. Let's make this a conversation, because we're all in this together. If this video resonated with you, give it a thumbs up, it helps others find it too. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button so you don't miss more tips for thriving after 60. Because here's the truth, aging isn't about decline. It's about living wisely. And with these habits, you're not just preserving memories. You're creating space for more joy, more connection, and more of the life you love. So from my heart to yours, here's to a sharper mind, a lighter spirit, and years ahead filled with moments you'll remember fondly. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.